Today on Stellan TV, we're taking an in-depth look at the Pleiadians. You know, the truth about star beings, the industry, is that there's a lot of disinformation. So much so that the military decided to invent their own alien races. Meet the Pleiadians. Now, just to make sure I get everything right, I'm going to follow some of my notes. They won't be too distracting because there's a lot of information to cover. So we're going to cover all of the main arguments against Pleiadians. You'll get a full view of my argument, my personal argument, my opinion on the subject. Some of this information will also apply to other fake aliens, such as the Arcturians, the Lyrans, and whatnot. There may be a lot more than we know, but we won't be able to discern what's really going on until we start with something that's the most obvious. Okay, this is the most obvious. Now, just because UFOs are not public, that has not prevented the military from infiltrating the UFO industry, because the military and the intelligence agencies are well aware of extraterrestrials. So while the main population is asleep and dormant or still thinking about it, waiting for the disclosure, the military and intelligence have infiltrated and taken counter initiatives, counter programming, and enacted psychological operations, PSYOPS, to a very high extent, because this has been going on for a long time. You know, it was, to my knowledge, in the 50s and 60s, they began to back-engineer craft. And when you have back-engineered craft, you're traveling in space. And when you have space travel, you get visited by other alien races. And they start to give you new ideas, and they want to know where you're going. They want to see how far you've advanced. They want to do some trade. We'll trade you some technology. You give us some people. They want to say, well, we want to genetic engineer some of your species. Then you say, well, give us some spiritual knowledge, right? Teach us about how to mine minerals on other planetoids, how to build off-Earth bases. You name it. You know, in one example, I was told that part of the negotiation was that we will allow you to do your thing on Earth and service the Earth, which requires a certain level of maintenance, but we want some things from you. We want technology, we want ideas, and one of the stipulations was we want alien DNA. So in some of the agreements, the star beings handed over samples of alien DNA, different alien races. And that went into the black operations, covert genetic engineering projects. So not only were star beings captured, tortured, and their DNA taken, but they were handed DNA samples. Now, a DNA sample, it's not very big. It's a vial, and if they get 20 vials of different alien species, they can do a lot of genetic engineering, genetic manipulation, hybridization, genetically modified organisms. They can do all kinds of stuff. Now, they had this since the 50s and 60s. So there's a lot of decades in between that. By the 80s, I was told that we had Solar Warden, which was the first big space fleet. It was a space fleet of our own spacecraft. That's the 80s. So it went to the 90s, 2000s, and 2010. Now they've developed it for decades. There's been hybridization, genetic engineering, all of it top secret. Now this is top secret. And that's their advantage, as we will see. So let me make my case very clear, because it all fits into how a fake alien race can be concocted. This planet has been interacting with star beings for decades that I'm aware of, just to my knowledge. But we're not going back into ancient times. I'm just going back to the 50s and 60s, and we know that they were they were interacting with us in the 30s and 40s. But the 50s and 60s is when it went to a new level. Agreements, trade, back-engineered craft really started to grow. What I call is the space navy. The space navy, that we have a militarized operation taking care of space. And they needed to create counter initiatives to prevent the awakening, to prevent the spread of truth, the true knowledge. And to prevent direct contact, because in some cases, the star beings wanted to directly contact human families. So they needed to create initiatives and programs to interrupt that process. And some of it was stipulated in agreements. In the agreement, you can only have limited contact, or if you're going to contact somebody, we need to know their name and address. And then they can follow up and counter-program them. So there's too much information to really, summarize and to get across to people in a short period of time. And this is not the video for it. I have discussed this in other videos and written in my books. And you can also find it on my website, stellan.ca, STELAN.ca. So it gives you a broader picture, and there's more. I just cover the key points. So there's a lot of this brainwashing, a lot of these inhibitors, these memory alterations, censorship, suppression. Now, if you punch through that, right, you get to the fake aliens. So it's not immediate, because there's so much disinformation that the last thing you're thinking about is fake aliens. And when I started talking about fake aliens, I was not aware of other people talking about fake aliens. So I've taken the initiative to continue the discussion. It might take some time to really get through it. Now, I'm going to give you a background on cosmic people. We'll quickly look at the Space Navy a little bit, basic PSYOPS, and then into the Pleiadians and other fake aliens. So I'm going to run through this. Again, I've discussed some of this in depth in other videos and written extensively in books. Now, the one thing you have to understand is the way intelligence operations work, the way psychological operations work. I summarize it like this. You have to control the pros and the cons. You have to control both sides. If there's only one side, you create another side and you control it. So there's the image, the perception of two sides, which you both control. You control the left and you control the right, You control counterterrorism and you control terrorism. You control the banking and you control the printing of money. You control space monsters and you control fake aliens, which are love and compassion aliens, right? You've got to control, you control the UFO expert who's trying to get information out, and you control the UFO expert who is feeding disinformation. Now, so when people look for information, they go, well, this guy I don't like, but this guy, this woman, I like, this person. But they control both sides. The people they don't control, we get no access. You know, I have a very limited audience. I have limited access. But I'm telling you things that other people won't tell you. And I've been telling the same thing. I've been saying the same thing for 13 years. I'm saying it better now. I wasn't as clear on everything before because I was under attack and disinformation myself. I had to sort of maintain my path forward. It's not easy. It hasn't been easy. So my qualification is very, I think, in terms of when it comes to star beings, stellans, cosmic culture, my qualification is very clear. I have been interacting with star beings. I've been friends with star beings since I was 3 years old. That I can remember. And that's pretty good, 3 years old. I don't remember anything else, but I remember star beings, little gray people, blue-skinned people, a blue-skinned man with white hair. I mean, mantids. I just never thought of them. I've never thought of them as star beings. I just thought of them as people. Because people are intelligent. People have personality. People have a certain energy. Right? People treat you a certain way. I never thought of them as aliens. They're just more advanced people. Now, unfortunately, it wasn't a good idea for me to remember all that, so that those memories were subdued, and when I was 38, I woke up and I remembered. And then I also started to see things from a mature level, and I started to interact. I continued to interact with these people at a more mature level, a more intellectual level, and I have now interacted with them on every level, in physical form, in astral form, in dream form, telepathic form, every imaginable form. They have physically touched me. I've seen ships with my naked eye. I've seen ships cloaked. I have seen people walk off of cloaked ships and meet me. I've seen so much. And also, this is just after 38, I've also remembered all of this stuff before, from the past, that they were coming through my walls in my bedroom, that there were ships, there were mother ships, and there were other children on the ships. And they were all the same kind of things, and the mantids, and there were different blue-skinned people and cat people. There was all kinds of people. I just never thought of them as other people have been programmed to think of space monster, alien, extraterrestrial. I just thought they're people. It's a cat woman. And I have this kind of my perception, I guess. I don't judge something, whereas people are programmed and they're very judgmental and they're easily frightened. So for me, maybe because I had this early experience, when I saw a feline woman, the face of a cat with a uniform, standing on two legs, I didn't see a monster. I say, hey, that's a cat woman. And then they speak, they're intelligent, and they're not trying to eat you. So I have this kind of problem. I see things on a very, and I say it because I've had some issues in life where I just see things for what it is, and that can cause problems in the real world. But in the star world, it's good because I'm not afraid of 9-foot-tall mantids, which for most people would be scared to death, right? Most people, that's a space monster. For me, it's just a tall person. A very advanced, and they're very advanced. All of these people, the star beings, are far more advanced. Tens of thousands of years, or millions of years, or billions of years. Some of these races are billions of years old. Or the culture is billions of years old. So they're very advanced. And, my way of thinking, we should respect these people. And to be afraid of them and to call them monsters is very disrespectful, We're getting off topic. Let's get back to this thing. Cosmic culture, but we are talking about culture. Cultures have traditions. Cultures have science. Cultures have language. They're very distinct. They're beautiful. They have dances. They have songs. All of these things make a culture, not monsters, not animals. So since I've seen so many different species and so many different races, it gives me a very clear idea of what is an authentic race, right? Not just looks pretty, but does it have culture? Does it have all the boxes checked off, right? Do they make sense? And how do they think? Because not every race has 5 fingers. So some races have 3 fingers. So they have a different mathematical system. And 5 fingers are humans. So even the advanced star beings with 5 fingers, they don't think on 5 fingers. They have a different mathematical system. So when I see someone using 5-finger math, the top 5, the top 10, the 9th dimension, I automatically start to think that's human math. And if you're using human math, then you're probably human, right? They haven't. So the people who invented fake aliens, they didn't get everything right because they're human. And they got a lot of the things right to create a fake alien, but the little details, someone like me would be able to discern, because I have met real aliens, right? And they have other things like intelligence, or their way of speaking, their habits, their approach, how they ask questions. Like when you talk about dimensions, I have never heard a star being tell me what dimension they're from. And my understanding is that dimensions are infinite. So that you may occupy a certain frequency, but there's no limit to those frequencies, So when a star being starts talking about dimensions, it's an idiot, or it's a human that thinks on this 10 hands, right? 10th dimension. And if you go, I'm from the 11th dimension. You're beyond time and space, Paris. Another thing is about names. At the higher level, at the higher frequencies, people don't use names because they use energy, they use DNA, they don't need a name. I know who you are because I pick up your signal, your energy. right? So they don't use names. Now, sometimes for convenience, they'll create a name, but it's just a name. There's no importance to it. So that, to my knowledge, names have very little value because you read people at the energetic level, at the DNA level, at other frequencies. So names are not a big deal. When somebody makes a big deal of a name, that's a human characteristic. Now, the other thing we know, another thing is, many people on the earth have a star heritage. Many people. When I talk many, I'm talking millions. Millions of people have a star heritage. So, I'm not alone. And there's millions of people who have a star heritage. Now, they're all doing something else. And star beings, they don't brand stuff. They don't say, this is a Pleiadian message, this is an Arcturian energy signal. They don't say that. It just is. It just is. They don't say, oh, this is, here we say this is Canadian steel. And this is, American timber. To my knowledge, star beings, they don't. I am not at that level to ever heard them say that. That we are sending you Arcturian energy. They don't think like that. They might say we are sending you energy. But there's no need to brand it. That's a human characteristic. Marketing, brand it. Because that's important, the name. But in star beings, they have no ego. They're egoless. It's like the Buddha. It's like the Buddha all of a sudden saying, hey, this is Buddha energy. He would never say that. It's universal. It belongs to everyone. Right? So, some of these key points, they're important to keep in mind. There is a secret space program. Some whistleblowers have come out with it. Some insiders have come out with it. Investigative researchers have confirmed it. I have heard it for 10 years. There's a secret space program. It started in the 50s. NASA launched in 1958. So the secret space program starts, and then NASA starts. (1958). By 83, 84, we have our solar warden, and it's getting more advanced. Now we have an advanced space fleet on multiple levels, multiple kinds. Now, why is that important? Because there's trade, there's negotiations, there's technology. The space fleets have more advanced smartphones, have more advanced computers, have free energy, propulsion. They have the good stuff, right? They have the they might even they can have Stargate technology access. They might have time traveled. They have warp speed. They have all kind of stuff that we don't have except in entertainment and movies. That gets us into genetic research, alien experiments, hybridization, MILAB, military abductions. They abduct humans, implant into the human alien DNA, hybridized alien DNA, which they got from the aliens, which they've been experimenting with, which they create their own DNA template, right? That they can control, and then they implant it into the subject, right? So when you create your own DNA and you implant it into an embryo, you're going to get this hybrid. You're going to get this Pleiadian. And then those people, those genetically modified people, they get visited over the years because they're all tracked. They can track your DNA. They know who they implanted. They know the name. They can track you. They can find you. They put implants in you, right? Those little devices. They can track you, and they visit you, and then they program you, and they add more DNA, and they manipulate you and torture you and whatever. This is MILAB, which is military abduction, which is human. This is human, okay? This is not aliens. In some cases, you're going to get the star beings visit somebody, and then the MILAB visit the same person to counter the visit, to cancel out the visit. And then the person's like, I had this lovely experience, and then I was probed. I don't know what to do, right? So we've gone into that. I don't want to spend too much time on that. Right? You wake up and your butt hurts. It's like, so, and then they can program people. You're going to be a gangster. You're going to be a prostitute. You're going to be a celebrity. You're going to be a politician. So all of this stuff's been going on for decades. Okay? We're not going to be able to correct all that. Now, the space program also starts a counter initiative using psychics, paranormals, and magicians. So they can telepathically target people. They can influence people in dream state, right? The people who've been implanted and tagged, the people who are waking up, they can target you at the dream state. They can target your inner voice. They can do psychological attacks. They can reprogram you. And they have many advanced ways to do this. So we shouldn't underestimate their ability. They can use a lot of methods which might seem normal, or might feel like it was a dream, but it wasn't a dream. And sometimes when they do reprogram you, they erase your memory, and you wake up, you don't remember, but you have a new view of life, maybe a negative view. So they can target you at a distance. And some of this coincides with actual visits and then the counter program. And so people usually have a lot of issues. Again, we've discussed this quite a bit, and I've written about this. So the space military, they have advanced technology. They can track your DNA. They know when you wake up, it comes up on the radar. They can target you. If you're a threat, they'll just do something simple, throw you off. If you're resistant, they take you to the next level. If you keep resisting, they go to the next level. And there's many levels of interaction. They can even, have you meet somebody and create a fake relationship, and that your partner is one of their people. So in some cases, they will do that, and that will keep you on the wrong path or prevent you from doing something, or they will feed information to the intelligence operation. Okay, let's quickly run through some basic PSYOPs. We've gone through this before. Hollywood space monsters make people afraid of aliens, mass murderers, serial killers from space. 2, government denial. ETs don't exist. People don't believe it. 3, ostracize, ridicule the ET expert. Call them crazy, financial, personal ruin. 4, abduct, mind control contactees. Target the hardliners, brainwash them, send them to the mental hospital, drug them. Most of them will break down or give up. 5, invent fake aliens. When you get too many star seeds, when you get too many people waking up, you create a fake alien. Now you're using the genetics program, which have now been in operation for decades. You invent a new alien profile that has a DNA association. So you've created a fake DNA, this fake alien DNA. You've implanted into people for decades. Now you need to create a fake profile, a fake alien to match the DNA. right? And this takes a lot of work. It takes decades. And you create a bunch of different perceptions of aliens. Pleiadians, Arcturians, Lyrans. Now you have cabal operatives in the UFO community to support them. So you have an operative in the UFO community to say, oh, the Pleiadians are like this and they're like this. And people start to believe that, right? Oh yeah, I went to the conference and this person was talking about Pleiadians. Well, that person might be one of their people. Pros and cons. Control the left and the right. So you have the DNA, you have the programming, and then the person's like, I should go to this UFO conference. I was guided by the Pleiadians. And then it goes, you are a Pleiadian. Oh, that answers everything. I know who I am now. You've been played. And I'll tell you something. When I woke up when I was 38, they had people tell me I was Pleiadian. Yeah, and they're operatives. People would call me. They email me and say, I saw your video. You're a Pleiadian. I know it. And I'm like, oh, I'm so happy to know who I am. But fortunately, I knew better, and I had access to real star beings, and I would say, what's going on? And they say, do not listen to that person. Otherwise, I'd be making the blessings of the Pleiadian video by now. So this is all these counter programs. And then to create a real race to Arcturian Pleiadian, you need to create a false spirituality. The love and compassion alien race, and you put spirit, it's like a spiritual cult. The Pleiadians, the Arcturians, right? So you have the cult, and you have the space monsters, alien invasion. You control the left, you control the right. So when I look left, I'm controlled. When I look right, I am controlled. And if I don't believe anything, well, I'm dumb, because there's a lot of stuff going on. Now, intelligence organizations are very good at creating fake organizations, like cover organizations, like NASA. Cover stories, cover operations, false fronts, and fake enemies, fake aliens. They're good at it. They're professionals. They're professionals. So they build a set of fake aliens, implant people, feed it, and people believe it. If I say to you, if I say the Romulans, you think, oh, the Romulans, and the Klingons, the Borg, the Jedi, right? Snow White and the Seven Dwarves. It's all fiction, but people believe it. People dress up. People dress up as Klingons and Jedi and dwarves and Snow White. Harry Potter. So these people are great at creating this fake aliens, and people will believe it. People want to believe it. Especially if you've been attacked for all these years, you got to believe something, you want to end the pain. It's like, oh, I'm Arcturian. I have a Pleiadian bloodline. Again, I'm not only speaking from experience with the actual star beings. I have been told I was Arcturian. I was told I was an Orion. I was told I was Pleiadian by multiple people. And the truth is, it's not true. It's not true. And I looked into it. It's not true. And I can tell you now, 13 years later, it's definitely not true. That yes, I may have been programmed or implanted with some false DNA, or programmed at some other early age, implanted with a false memory, that if I woke up I would be Pleiadian. And then they have multiple memories. If you break through the Pleiadian memory implant, then it's the Arcturian implant, and then there's multiple levels. I can tell you this, after 13 years, none of that is true. So I've gone through a lot of this, most of the disinformation. I've gone through so much disinformation, especially in the first 3 years, that it was very stressful. Very stressful. And I can say today, what remained true in the beginning has continued to be true. And that's a lot of disinformation. And some of it is very hard to get through, because when you're dealing with implants and programming, it's hard to know what's true. And then when you look for information, it's all controlled. So it's a challenge, right? So they've created these composite aliens like the Pleiadians, and they pick a star system like the Pleiades, because you're never going to go there. You can't verify it. You can't verify the Pleiadian. Or Andromeda. Andromeda is a galaxy. Andromeda is a galaxy. It's got 1 trillion stars. Well, which planet? You know, the whole galaxy? You're an Andromedan from the whole galaxy? Which planet? They don't tell you that, because they haven't gotten that far. Arcturus is a star. It's not even a planet. You can't come from a star. Of course, until we get ships, we can't go there to verify. But I will say this: when we get interstellar travel and we go there, we will find out we have been lied to. How's that? Now, okay, let's wrap this up. There are these fake aliens out there. I've identified one group, Pleiadians, which I feel confident to say they were an engineered race, a fake alien, a composite alien race built on knowledge and contact with real aliens, based on people with a very creative imagination, and based on military operations. This is a multi-level, prolonged, ongoing program. And there's more than one. If there's the Pleiadians are fake, there's other ones are fake. It doesn't mean they're all fake. So let's not go crazy. But I think the Pleiadians are a fake race. Now, how do you control so many people? So when you suppress knowledge, the truth, what's really been happening since the 50s and 60s, it's easy to manipulate people. But when you understand what's going on, and that's why I gave you the background up front. When you understand the background, what's been going on, that they have advanced methods, they've been genetic engineering, they have contact with real aliens, they can make composites, they have every interest to prevent the awakening. So it's not difficult to manipulate people because of the suppression of the truth, right? But when you understand what's going on, that's why I try to give some background. When you understand what's going on, you understand their capability, and you understand that they're very manipulative, they're very malicious, and they want to protect the truth from coming out. And they have these ongoing programs, right? Counter initiatives, counter programming. It's a standard. It happens on many levels, not just extraterrestrial, on other levels as well. When you understand all that, it's a lot easier to understand that there are fake aliens.